Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to another edition of Where I Went Wrong. And in this edition of Where I Went Wrong, I'll be doing UFC 268, Usman versus Covington 2 edition of Where I Went Wrong. So first off, went 11-3, 11-14, so a real solid card. No matter what you want to say, no matter how much of a perfectionist you are, or how delusional you are, like some guy like you expect everybody to be perfect every single week, or perfect this or perfect that. And I'm never perfect. I'm never gonna say that. That's one thing that has always eluded me: perfection. But I'm always probably more than anyone that's out here predicting, betting, or whatever case. I'm probably the most consistent person with my uploads in prediction rate. I'm always consistent. I might not be the guy that's going, oh, this guy had a perfect card, perfect this, perfect that. But I'm always gonna be the guy probably hovering around like 8 or 10 and 9 or 10 and all that stuff. I'm gonna be hovering around a pretty solid average. So like that's gonna be me. But yeah, 11-3, consistent again. 11-3, 11-14. Yeah, 11-3. Yeah, 11-14. But yeah, either way, I'm gonna get into it. But first, I'm gonna address a heckler. I'm not gonna say his name. Not gonna give him that much attention. But every week, well, not every week, every 2 weeks or every 2 months, every case, he come in and say like, all he does is picks favorites. Like that's something that sounds so intelligent to say, or like that's something wrong with that. Favorites are favorites for a reason. And I don't pick them because they're favorites. I pick them because I see them winning. And most times it's gonna be the favorites gonna win. So if you just trying to go out there and bite on every single dog or pick every single dog with a little bit of bite in them, it's not a recipe for success. The recipe for success is like, matter of fact, for me, I'm a predictor before I'm a better. So I'm not like a guy necessarily looking at the dog like, oh, we got this dog like he could bite, this dog like he could bite, or this dog like she could bite. That's not me. That's not what I'm doing. I look at it like I see from like watching these fights is a fan. Sometimes just for research, going back or based on what I've seen. I'm always got going deep in research. A lot of my probably 90% of my predictions come from just watching fights prior. It's not me going like, oh, let me go on a 3, 4, 9 hour long research. It's like I've already seen these guys fight. I've been watching, like especially they've been in UFC or been in MMA or been like Bellator, a major organization for a while. I've already been watching them and following them. I already know tendencies, patterns from them, so I don't need to go and dig stuff up. So that sometimes that can be something that backfires for me because I'm not, all into their Twitter and like, oh, this guy was on vacation. This guy got a staph infection on his big toe or something. I'm not the guy that's all trying to be in these fighters' lives. I don't care for them that much to be digging in their life. I'm not no big fanboy. Like I got some people I'm fans of, but I ain't all up in their life and all up in their butthole like that. So I just go based off who they are as a fighter. So I'm not going off like they got broke up with their girlfriend or something. I'm not a person that's trying to dig so deep and then it's like trying to find that dog that's gonna bite so crazy. I'll just more so see an inaccuracy in the odds, and that's when I'll go for dogs. And this card very much favors one a lot. I pick mostly favorites. Typically, that's what you're gonna do. Pick mostly favorites. I think none of my dogs bit, but ultimately went 11-3. Like so, yeah. As far as him talking about it, like yeah, I bet whatever his record is probably horrendous. But I guess he gets so hard off of picking dogs. Don't probably got no age, probably in debt and whatnot, because like chasing dogs just off the fact that they're dogs and thinking that's a smart recipe or that's something to be proud about or something to brag about is this ludicrous. Not something you should be doing. It's not smart, not intelligence, lack of IQ. You talking about you don't do this, you don't do that. You don't do that clearly because you just chasing every single dog that got a little bit of bite in you, and that's what you're going off. So not intelligent, my man, not intelligent. Nothing against you, but work on this brain right because you're not that smart right now. That's not very smart, my man. Not very smart. By the way, but let me kind of go into that little dog thing a little bit more. Usman versus Covington. Why would you go with Covington? I mean, this is in the future right now. Usman already beat Covington for the second time, but why would you pick Covington? Covington had one fight since the fight. Hasn't been very active. Hasn't shown any great improvement. Usman has shown improvement. Usman does have the win over Covington, and Usman does been active, has shown improvement, has the wins, and he's been won with the belt. He's been getting better. And so it's really hard to lean to Covington. Like you lean to Covington because you're a fanboy, or maybe you lean in like, oh, he did this and this, that in the first fight. But it's not a good thing to lean to. I could see if Covington was out there like putting in 6 to 7 wins together, or 3, 2, at least 2 wins together, and had shown such great improvement, and not be have to be somebody decent, or at least somebody that was looking decent, not somebody on the downtrend. Maybe it would be a good cause to live, but from everything I've seen, it was no good case to lean to Covington. Now, let's see, Namajunas versus Weili Zhang. Say Weili Zhang was the underdog, but Zhang ended up being the favorite by the time the fight happened. But say Zhang was the underdog, why would you lean to Zhang? Like you could lean to Zhang or say, because I picked Zhang in the first fight actually, and Namajunas just proved me completely wrong. But yeah, Zhang lost the first fight. Like either way, it's gonna be a close fight. It was a close prediction, and a close fight it turned out to be. But fight didn't really materialize much. Zhang lost, so already coming off a loss, that's a factor against you. You're the one that's coming in with the loss. The person's coming off a win, fresh off beating you. And then yes, I was you gonna lean to the favorite. Also, then because she beat her, stopped her, and then in between that, what else happened? Yeah, Namunis has that tendency or that track record after she always wins every single rematch by close, semi-controversial decision. Even she destroyed her opponent in the first fight, the second fight would be a close, controversial, semi-controversial decision that she'll get her hand raised in. And that's actually how the fight played out. And also, I said something prior in the fight, like, again, I'm not this guy that's pulling stuff out my butthole and just not studying these fighters. I know that, I just knew that, also having a wrestling background, I know that wrestling not something you just hop in and all of a sudden you have wrestling cardio, or you could do that, especially in an MMA fight. It's not no 3 minute this and that. You fighting for like 25 minutes. So you try to you can have all that in the gym. It don't translate instantly in your next fight. So it was a decent, smart strategy, but you got to think further than that style not going to work. And also, ironically, which kind of funny, now he tried to use that strategy that he used to beat Mighty Mouse, but a lot of people feel that Mighty Mouse beat him. So a little bit of karma there. That strategy he thought he used to beat Mighty Mouse. I mean, he did beat Mighty Mouse, but a lot of people feel he lost. Ultimately paid out that caused Willie Zane to lose. So yeah, that wrestling style, like, it can be good, but ultimately it's going Namajunas, I feel like in the gym she grapples more than Zhang. And so that style really ended up tiring out Zhang more than it tired out Rose Namajunas. So instead of like really trying to press her with a strike and really touch her up, she tried to use footwork, use movement, and then try to find these opportunities to go for takedowns. Try to draw Namajunas in and go for takedowns. Like, that looked good for a couple rounds, but later on, she started getting tired. Namajunas started to reverse position on her. Then in the fifth round, Namajunas just went for a takedown, scored it, and was able to grind out the decision over her. Got 2 clear rounds, fourth and fifth. Then like the first 2 rounds kind of toss up. So Namajunas had the 2 clear rounds. Zhang had like 1 clear round. So very close fight, but Namajunas did what she had to do, and ultimately, I feel like the style that Zhang went for played against her. It worked. Like I said, it was a 3-round fight, probably would have worked better, but a 5-round fight, it just ended up causing her to be tired in the 4th and 5th rounds. Where maybe she would have been a more striking focus, would have been more on the inside, touching Namajunas more. Then maybe that case, maybe force Namajunas to force him to go for takedowns when she's getting pressured. And then maybe that would have tired Namajunas out later, but ultimately that style ended up, like I said, tiring out Weili Zhang. And then some other dogs, maybe like Vergara. Vergara is, like I said, it's not that much tape on him, so why would you lean with that dog? I mean, you can lean, like I said, it's nothing wrong with leaning with dogs, but the thing is, when you were leaning with dogs, you gotta have a real good case, or at least a decent case, and you don't just lean to every single dog. So yeah, I'm gonna go to my 3 picks that I got wrong, but now I'm doing a whole bunch of talking about this stuff. But with the Vergara versus Osborne fight, the Vergara simply had not fought great competition. He had for Dante Martinez like early on in his career, for Bruno Correa, who's not really like a super great fighter, still like a fighter that's developing himself. So I feel like Ode Osborne was the biggest test for him, and it paid out that Osborne was the biggest test for him. And Vergara didn't try, like, he tried, he probably outsmarted himself in a way, like he tried to explode late because people were like, oh, he gonna be fast early but slow down. So he tried to conserve himself, which ultimately caused him to lose the first 2 rounds, then turned it on late in the 3rd round, or what turned it on in the 3rd round. So you already gave 2 rounds. You're gonna turn it up in the 3rd round. Maybe you should have turned that up in the 2nd round. But either way, again, with these fresh faced guys coming to the UFC without the most experience, like, it's really a coin flip a lot of times, or it's not something you really can bet on, or you're so wrong for picking against them, or picking them, or picking against them. Because like I said, it's not that much intel on them. So it's not like, oh, you're smarter for this or smarter for that. So when picking dogs, you don't just go for every single which dog that got a little bit of bite them. Maybe you can do that when you're just to yourself, you're blowing all the money in the world, and you just, I don't know, writing off on your taxes and whatnot. But you just like a fool when you out there, you just bet on every single dog, and you're like, yeah, I don't know, maybe you get more happy about getting a big dog than actually having a solid car. So I don't know. Whatever floats your boats, whatever make you happy. But now to the actual video, like 10 minutes into the actual video where I went wrong. So the first pick I went wrong on was Vellante versus I already forgot his name, but it is what it is. It'll come back to me eventually. But I'm gonna call him Kung Fu Panda. But yeah, was it Bennett? I'm gonna call him Kung Fu Panda. But Kung Fu Panda, I said the fight was gonna be a circus fight. It was a circus fight. Oh, Chris Barnett, that's his name. I said it was gonna be a circus fight. It was a circus fight. I did not ever at any point say, "Oh, I'm super high confident on Vellante. Vellante is a lock Volante said, I didn't put low confidence. I said it's gonna be a circuit fight. I said it's gonna be a joke fight. And it was a joke fight. Kung Fu Panda got a nice spinning back kick on spinning heel kick on Volante, caught him. But Volante came in there with a swolled up gut, came to like he just came from a buffet. It was not really in there, and this was a retirement fight. If I would have, like I said, that's something I could look further in, but ultimately, would I look further into or not look further into it? I would have kind of leaned the same way in regards, or I probably would say, oh, Volante about to retire, so I'm gonna go with Chris Barnett because this man about to retire, so he obviously not motivated. Another guy, even though he trashed, to be honest, like a trash fighter, to be honest, he's at least his head's in the right place, whereas Volante is not. So it's lean to the guy that actually wants to be there and actually, fresh face in the career in the UFC and trying to do something. But ultimately, all the way with this fight, Volante now outside the UFC that he for his last fight probably should retire. Definitely should retire and maybe do his career in stand up or a food eating competition. But either way, not how either guy. Volante gone, so it don't matter no more. Barnett, like who can he beat? Who can he beat? He probably at that given juncture the worst guy he could fight. Cause guy that's about to retire and not motivated at all, fat, super out of shape. So maybe Volante, when he's a little bit in shape, probably not exactly the worst heavyweight, not even really a heavyweight to begin with, but maybe when he's actually a little bit motivated and a little bit in shape, he's not the worst heavyweight. But when he's not motivated and coming there super fat like that, he is the worst heavyweight out there. So who can Chris Barnett really beat? Even with unmotivated, he still, I think, stole the first round over him. So Barnett did not look very good, and I think most other guys are going to embarrass him out there. But let's see how far he goes. And definitely not a guy I'm super high on. As a matter of fact, I'm not high on him at all going forward. But hey, he got to win. Good for him. I was not high on either guy. And the fight played out, so it could be where I went wrong, but ultimately I do not care. I did not care going into the fight. I just picked it because it was on the card. I predicted it because it was on the card, but I did not invest much time or care or concern and lost zero sleep over that pick, let's be honest. So you can say ouch or say whatever you want to say, but I literally did not care about that pick. And that's a good thing. You going for every single pick like, oh my gosh, I'm so invested in this pick and this pick and this pick and all of my picks. That pick is, some picks you're just not gonna care about. It's just the way it just is what it is. And the next pick it was Halls versus Chris Curtis. Phil Halls versus Chris Curtis. All these guys named Chris, but Phil Halls versus Curtis. How I saw this fight, I knew that I don't feel like it could play out similar to how the fight started out playing out. I knew Chris Curtis had an issue kind of like firing the trigger or pulling the trigger. And I thought that would be the case. So Halls would be able to get by this by being active, pressuring, going for takedowns. Wasn't able to really score no, I mean, he didn't score no takedowns. I knew Chris Curtis had some pretty solid wrestling defense. But I thought at least Halls would be able to tie him up. But maybe Halls got a little bit too confident. He was extending those combos a little bit too longer. Maybe he should just try to go for some underhooks or try to clinch him against the cage instead of trying to necessarily go for takedowns every single time. And instead of trying to chain these long combinations together and just, just grind out. Like you can just stay in his face, keep your hands tight, maybe throw a punch every now and then, and load up with some power to keep him honest, and then go for some takedowns. But I feel like Phil Hall started feeling himself a little too much, started extending these combinations. And then Chris Curtis just being more technical striker, which I knew he was, just saw the opening that he kept dropping that hand, was able to catch him. Just time it and catch him. So it is what it is. And then it could be a similar case where he could have caught him with that, but not to the same degree. Not as flush, not as clean, and not as effective. And Phil Halls would have aided and would have kept going back to what he was doing, or would at least been able to go shoot for a good takedown, hold on the leg, recover. And the fight could have played out like it started all the way through. So good win from Chris Curtis. I saw that possibility. I just didn't feel like it wouldn't necessarily materialize in that way. But it is what it is. Solid pick. I can see where I went wrong with that one, but ultimately not a pick I'm going to hold myself high on. Low on at all with that one. I feel like going forward, it will be a good thing to pick against pick against Curtis for a similar reason. Like he's a guy that's, kind of fight like a boxer in a way, where they act like they got 10 rounds in the fight and they try to, let the opponent go off a little bit, stay defensively minded, and look for that perfect opportunity. But you only got 3 rounds in most cases. You're not really gonna be fighting for no title, so you only got 3 rounds, and then you're giving up so much time trying to find that right shot. And a lot of times you're gonna end up on the wrong side of decisions because somebody's gonna simply be more active than you, and you're gonna run out of clock. So going forward, depending on how they match him up, Curtis can get some power, some wins together, or he could end up losing a lot of close decisions going forward. But good win for him, nonetheless. Capitalize. Definitely be looking for him in the looking out for him in the future. But definitely gonna highly depend on who they match him up with and how they match him up. He can end up jumping into the rankings depending on how they match him up, or depending on how they match him up, he could end up as a guy, like I said, always like a solid fighter with a lot of talent, very skilled, could be in there with anyone, but going to end up on the wrong side of a lot of decisions. Probably the people that he should beat, depending on how they match him and depending on how the coin toss goes. But that was my second one wrong. Then my third one was finally Frankie Edgar versus Marlon Vera. And another pick I didn't like really on this card. None of these picks I felt bad about. Like I don't feel like I did a wrong pick. I don't feel like I did bad research or had bad intel. It just didn't materialize. So Frank Edgar, I did feel like he was like a minute or something to potentially win in a close decision. Got to take down every round. First round was a clear Frank Edgar round. Second round was pretty clear for Frank Edgar until Vera got up and started landing some damage on Edgar and a couple semi drops. I don't know if they even counted them, but second round could have went to Edgar, could have been tossed around. Third round was looking like an Edgar round. Edgar was landing clean combinations. Vera was hitting a lot of air, not really touching nothing. When you really look at the fight, I don't know what they were scoring, but Marlon Vera was really not, not touching nothing. But then in that, like, final minute, 30 seconds, was able to find that front kick, drop Edgar, and finish him off. But good composure for Marlon Vera. But ultimately, I feel like it was a great performance from Marlon Vera. I feel like Frank Edgar was largely controlling that fight, but Marlon Vera was able to stay composed and find that perfect shot, put him down, and get him out of there. But good composure from Marlon Vera, but ultimately, I don't think it was a great performance. Frank Edgar looked super old, looked as old as he ever looked as bad as he ever looked. And the reason I did lean to Edgar was because even though Edgar's not just like one of these other guys that's just like out there drinking mojitos and drinking wine and drinking liquor and is eating all the pies and cookies and donuts and chips. He's always in shape, always professional. So I feel like even though he's 40, Marlon Vera ain't all that nice. He ain't all that good. Even after that performance, he's not all that good and all that nice. Takedown defense can be a big question. I mean, it has opportunities which I feel like Frank Edgar could capitalize on, and he did capitalize on. But ultimately, he wasn't able to make it to the decision. I knew it would be a close, tight fight, matchup and whatnot, but Vera was able to find that shot and put him out. But not a pick I ultimately feel bad about. I just felt that Edgar had enough in him still to pull out a win over Marlon Vera, same as I thought he had enough win in him to pull out a win over Pedro Munoz. In the Munoz fight, he was able to get a close decision, but in this fight, he was not. Simple as that. So, not a pick I feel bad about. But age is undefeated, or mother time, and what I say, father time, mother time. Time is undefeated. Age is undefeated. Eventually, we'll all get old. All these fighters get old, and then the new wave of fighters come in and beat them. Whether they're as good as them or not, better than them or not, eventually you start to decline. People get a read for what you do, and then the young wolves eat the old wolf. It's the way of the jungle. But ultimately, I don't feel too bad about picking Edgar. But I think Edgar at this point should retire and be a coach or analyst or something, because there's not really much for him. He already has a great legacy. Maybe he likes to compete, but it's not much for him to be out there. And I don't think he really matches up well with like a Peter Yan or Sandhagen's. He goes up. I don't think he really matches up with the best, with the 145ers there. Maybe outside of UFC, but the UFC is where you want to be. And going out there, maybe trying to capture other league. I don't think he's gonna have super great success there either. There's gonna be a lot more damage for money that's not worth all that damage he's gonna incur. So good career for Frankie Edgar, but I think he should retire. Marlon Vera side, I'm not super high on his performance, but maybe rematch Sean O'Malley. Like he has good chances to beat Sean O'Malley again, and also decent chances to lose to Sean O'Malley. But there's a lot of good fights out there for what's his name, Marlon Vera. But yeah, I'm not super high on that performance from him at all. But now let's just kind of go over the main event, main card, or the co-main event, main event. Yeah, I already went over the co-main event, but Namunis for the good performance, Zhang for the good performance. But again, Zhang came in there with that style ultimately was her undoing, because she ended up being tired. Good for 3 rounds, 5 rounds, a little too early to jump into that. And that wrestling and grappling tired her out more than it did Namunis, which allowed Namunis to take the final 2 rounds, and get the decision. So if people say, 3-2 Weili or 4-1 Weili, I don't know how it'd be 4-1 Weili. At best, it'd be 3-2 Weili, at the very best. And even 3-2 is a stretch for Weili, in my opinion. Close fight, but giving those final 2 rounds is all that need to be said. It's not like she did nothing super phenomenal in the first 3 rounds or anything like that. Nothing super phenomenal. Like I said, I feel most of those rounds were very close. And it is what they like. You try to do a wrestling style, just off one camp, and go to a major fight and use that for 5 rounds. For what it's worth, she did do amazing with that little bit of time. She did have to train and adjust her style. But again, that's not a style you just do and jump into in a title fight and try to utilize. Ultimately, that's what's going to happen to you more often than not. Maybe more often than not, you might get tapped out, knocked out or something, what the case was. But She got lucky in a way where she for the competitive fight and was able to just lose by a thread of a hair or something. But now in the main event, we had Kamaru Usman versus Kobe Covington 2. And again, I went with Kamaru Usman. I said second round knockout, almost materialized very much. But not gonna talk too much about this one, but great performance from both guys. I think Kamaru Usman for the great performance, but definitely showed a lot of flaws that's still there. I definitely see why he's trying to retire and not fight Khamzat Chimaev. If Chimaev is who he looks to be, Chimaev will run through both of these guys. I see. If Chimaev is who he looks and appears to be, he'll beat both of these guys pretty handily right now. Well, not right now. Maybe within a year or 2 years, he'll both of these guys. And by that point, Kamaru Usman probably like 36, 37 if he sticks around, which he's not looking like he'll stick around. Covington probably be right 35, 36. And Chimaev probably be right in his MMA prime. So age-wise, skill-wise, size-wise, etc.-wise, everything will be in place that Chimaev will be the one, all the advantages really go in those fights outside of experience, but it may be cardio. But yeah, so good performance for Covington, was able to recover from that second round, nearly getting finished twice in that second round. Then go on to put on a strong performance in 3 rounds. Definitely some close rounds in there. But yeah, at best for Covington, he could hope for a draw. He could have, but that second round was definitely a 10-8. In boxing, that would have been a 10-7. But he could hope for a draw. But yeah, you got to have a winner. I think it was clear enough that Usman won. But yeah, Usman's got his flaws, and I don't think he's going to change them at any point right now. It's the open lot. Still reaching and swinging wild at times. He goes back to that wild swinging. And I don't think he should even have Canelo Alvarez's name in his mouth. That's really a joke at this point. Matter of fact, it's been a joke from the jump. And everybody I don't know. Good for you to believe you could do that, but if you're getting outboxed by Kobe Covington, you should not be having his name in the mouth. You're getting rocked by Gilbert Burns, you should not be having his name in your mouth. You should not. But that fight definitely not going to happen because, one, Usman don't got the name value. He not no big money draw. And 2, he just don't got the skills. It's not like he has those boxing skills. He's not a boxer at all. I wouldn't even call him a super great MMA striker. He's a good MMA striker, but he's not a great MMA striker. And he's a mediocre boxer by boxing standards. Beyond mediocre. Amateur boxer. But yeah, no knock on him. It's just the reality of things. As far as Covington, I don't think he'll ever really hold a title. Maybe in case a lot of people just get injured and the opportunity presents itself. But I think with these Kazakhstani fighters coming up, these younger Kazakhstani fighters with good wrestling backgrounds and real technical striking coming up, and you got the Khamzat Chimaevs, the Russians, all these people coming up, young, fresh, hungry. Not all the Russians, a couple of them, the ones, some of the cream of the crop, maybe 2 or 3 of those, maybe 1 or 2 of the Kazakhstanis and whatnot, and Khamzat Chimaev and some of those people coming up. I feel like they're going to be primed to take over the division real soon. I feel like both guys showed a lot of weakness. I feel like a lot of people will take advantage of those weaknesses if they do choose to stick around. I feel like Usman is doing the smart route where he's trying to get out right now, get 1 or 2 fights out, extend his legacy, maybe get 7 title defenses, maybe 8, and then say sayonara and walk off his argument case that he might be the greatest welterweight all time. I feel like most people still gonna lean to GSP, unless maybe he sticks around and beats Khamzat Chimaevs and beat up some of these, like I said, beat some of those Russians, beat some of those Kazakhstanis. Then oh yeah, that guy is the best. That arguably, without a doubt, for much better competition than GSP, has similar amount of title defenses, if not more than GSP. Yeah, then he'll be arguably the welterweight GOAT. Arguably. But I don't think he's going to stick around for that. It's going to be a debate. And maybe recency might push him over, but I don't see that happening. I think it's going to be a case where he's going to be close, but it's still going to be GSP's the welterweight GOAT, and Usman's number 2, because those other guys are coming up very fast. And I don't think Usman's ready for tomorrow. He's not going to really evolve. He's only getting older. But yeah, good performance from both guys. Great card of fights. Went 11-3, 11-14. Solid card, solid outing. And I'm looking forward to next week. Holloway versus Rodriguez should be a fun fight. Should be a fun card. Should be a fun night. And that's the video. Thanks for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, and come back for more videos. Peace.